welcome back to the crypto wave. Lots of, I don't know what you want to call it, drama, FUD, fun, mayhem, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, over the weekend. I chose one heck of a week, or I guess it wasn't weekend technically, it's my weekend because I was off from work, but, so, kind of news update here. Over last weekend, everything was paused. So if you go over here to the farms, you're going to see paused. Now there is, if you go into the Telegram, I don't have it right offhand, but if you do go into the Telegram, there is messages in here that tell you how, if you want to pull these funds out, since the buttons have been removed, how you can pull out the values of things that you've staked in here. But in reality, the reason it was paused. So I actually did a video a couple days ago when this whole thing started, but then I thought, you know what, I need to pump the brakes on that. I don't want to put information out there that I haven't gotten directly. And the initial thought was there was a bot. And for anybody not familiar with a bot, it's basically a program that can try and buy and sell or get into pre-sales before anybody else. And when PIGGYBANK launched, if anybody remembers when PIGPIN launched, it was actually delayed for almost an entire day simply because PIGPIN and the farms, people were trying to bot it. And Forex would pause and unpause the contract, and the bots kept trying to buy in immediately to try and get cheap early value, if that makes sense. And during that time, he kept pausing, and he was actually just taking the money that they were putting in there, in essence, in a way to beat the bots. Now, he had other coding and such that shut it down also, but he was also manually doing it, which is why the actual PIGGYBANK farm, or I'm sorry, the PIGPIN farm and animal farm took so long to launch on the actual day of launch a couple weeks ago. PIGGYBANK, on the other hand, so he did release this contract, and it went over without a hitch, in my opinion. I thought it went really, really well. However, on the back end, things kept going down, and some savvy people, and I wish I could give you credit, but honestly, it's just thousands upon thousands of messages in this animal farm, so I don't know who initially found it, but somebody in essence found that it was either the first or second transaction when it launched was a bot, and initially and that's when I was doing the video, because what he ended up doing is they found that this bot had gotten, even though Forex had programmed in there the first transaction not to go to a wallet. He kept saying he's going to trick the system. He was going to do it so that the first transaction wasn't a person. Because that first transaction, in order for a new coin to launch, you have to put a coin, you have to put a value in, and then that sets the price point. And if the developer is the first transaction and you put a value in a coin, and then you actually, in essence, own 50% of that current supply. And that's usually unfair. And in most cases and in most programs like this, that's typically how it went. There was always ways of trying to work around it where the developer would actually use a burn address or all these other different things. But ultimately, there was always that one or two people who botted or got in early, including the devs, not in this one, but devs of other programs that owned 50% of the supply. Thus, when they were compounding, they could empty the contract very, very effectively and quickly. And that's in essence what somebody found over this last weekend, was that it was either the second buy or the third, I don't know which buy it was, but it was very, very early, was a bot. And that bot, now we actually have confirmed through Forex, got 22% of the supply. Now, what did that person do is instead of compounding, they were basically just emptying the contract. Every time for the day came up, they would sell it. And because they owned 22%, they were selling at large values. And somebody caught on to it because they saw that transaction was a $30,000 buy-in using a bot. But they had, at the point of pausing the contract, had withdrawn, I think it was somewhere like $500,000 or $600,000. So this was brought to the attention of the developers, including Forex. They paused the contract to basically just assess, and I'm glad that they did, because that assessment was where all the FUD started coming. In the chat, there was people saying, no, it wasn't botted. Yes, it was botted. Back and forth, Forex, this and that, people fearful, people trying to sell, all the stuff that would only come with something like this. And so I waited. And sure enough, we got confirmation there was a bot. It had about 22%. It was selling things off. That wallet got blacklisted, so it couldn't sell anymore. But because the pigs are locked into liquidity, you can't necessarily blacklist that. You can only blacklist the capability of them selling or transferring and things. But it still didn't solve the problem of somebody owning a large percentage, making the proportions inaccurate. So over the last couple of days, they have been working on it. They initially said they might have to launch an entire new pig token. There's a lot of debate kind of going back and forth, which in my opinion is good because, we're shooting for longevity. Any of these daily ROI type things, you look for longevity, and this was built on longevity with certain parameters involved, and those parameters were skewed by that one bot getting in too early. So we just got an update. So this is actually the pinned message, but there was an update earlier today. In essence, Forex said he believes there's going to be a way to do this over this weekend, and this is kind of the breaking news portion of it. But over the weekend, they are going to, in essence, try to unpause some things so that you can transfer your pigs to a different wallet where they can then lock, basically ensure that the liquidity is connected to it. Here we go. Good news. We do not have to wait to mint new pigs for us to remove your liquidity. We're going with a faster but equally good method, and we'll have everyone send their pig tokens or pig LP tokens to a wallet. We have taken a snapshot of the state before we paused everything. So that was like Saturday night, I think. And people who send their version 1 pigs, which is what we have now, in version 1 pigs LP tokens, will be credited with version 2 wherever they held version 1. If you held and send in version 1 LP, then you will be airdropped version 2 LP. If you held pigs in your wallet and send them in, you will get airdropped version 2 pigs. And if you have pigs LP in your pig pin, you will withdraw them and send them in and will be credited a new pig pin with version 2. People cannot do it yet because everything is paused, but we will unpause it and allow people to do this this weekend. Excuse me, and people will have until Tuesday to send them in. We want to give people plenty of opportunity to send in all the version 1s. So the couple of questions people brought up, we don't have clarification. Hopefully there's an AMA coming, which is, what about the locked tokens? My guess is those have all been snapshotted as well. If they are truly locked, we don't have access to them, then I would imagine there's going to be some type of an airdrop into a new piggy pin or piggy bank with the values that you held when everything is unpaused and kind of goes from there. What about Pigpen? Well, he just said that you're going to be actually able to, he's going to unpause it. You can withdraw from the Pigpen and then send it to that wallet. Well, what about the I don't think there is anything in pools, to be honest with you. Those are all dogs, pools. I don't think there's a pig BUSD. Those are pools, not there. Let's look at farms just before I misspeak. Nope. Yeah, so the pig BUSD is actually that piggy bank there. So my guess is that there will be some sort of a pig BUSD drop of some sort based on what people have locked into their piggy bank. What about dogs? Not an entire time. I went through everything. I went through this entire Telegram. I've been reading thousands upon thousands of messages for days and days and days. I have yet to see anywhere that there is a mention that dogs was affected. The only reason dogs are currently paused is because there's no point in letting dogs farm or generate, which are tied to pigs when you sell dogs for pigs or whatever the case is. But if you are minting pigs with dog tokens and stuff, you can't have that because, again, the pig token is what's compromised. Well, not compromised. The pig token is the issue right now, which needs to be redistributed. So assuming that once everything gets unpaused and the pigs have been corrected, all of this makes no difference. The dogs you have are the dogs you have. I would imagine it's a completely separate contract because it's got different coding and everything on it. So that is the biggest news and biggest update at this point. I know there's been talk. I was actually lucky enough to be one of the early buyers. I think I got in like somewhere in the 30s, like 35th or 36th buy. And so there is talk that within the piggy bank itself, so my first buy was the one that I did, as you guys know, that I did not do a time lock on, and then everything else after that I did do a time lock on. I was like the 34th, 35th buy here. And so I got a decent ratio. He did say that, that there were some people who got in early, got a disproportional amount. I don't think I did. It didn't seem like it. But I kind of hope it doesn't affect me. I'm hoping I'm just under that cusp because he did say the first few buys might get a little, when they airdrop all this stuff and they restart this with all the new Pig LP tokens and stuff, I'm under the impression that I may get less piglets than what I originally had, which would be a bummer. But you know what? In the big scheme of things, in the big picture, piggy bank, animal farm, dogs, all this stuff is long term. I wouldn't have locked these things up for 2 years, 1 year, all this time if I wasn't thinking this is going to be a longevity project. So would it suck to get a little bit less piglets? Yeah, it would. You know, but if it's going to help this ROI, if it's going to help this 3% ROI longevity for the next year, 2 years, then you know what? So be it. A little bit of loss today for bigger gains later, I'm good with. So that is the biggest thing on Animal Farm. Now, there has been talks also that during all of this craziness, the lottery is still being worked on. So they're in this process of doing that and linking it over to Chainlink. There is, if anybody's in the drip community, there is some people that have, correction. There is a message that went out that's actually redoing this whole entire interface to make it a little more sleek, a little more modern, that type of thing, which is going to be big, especially since on the last few AMAs, all he's been talking about is how he's going to be pushing drip, pushing drip, and pushing Animal Farm. And supposedly there's some big partnerships in the back end. So a nice professional, sleek website is going to be very, very, very beneficial when the time comes. So, yeah, so that's kind of the biggest thing. So for anybody who's in Animal Farm, and I know there's some of my friends, I know maybe even some of you guys watching this channel, you probably have some fear, you probably have some doubt, you probably have some uncertainty. I don't. And I'm just being completely honest with you. I have not emergency removed anything out of my farms. Unfortunately, I could have, because I could have moved them back over to Pancake or something to earn some yield. But you know what? So be it. I'll keep it paused for a couple more days. I'll wait for this to open back up. I still think this is going to be a solid project. I haven't moved anything out. When the pig pen reopens, I currently have... it's not telling me how many I got locked up in. I don't remember how many I had in here, but I will bring those back. I'm going to stake them right back in there again. And I'm going to keep rocking and rolling with this piggy bank here. So anybody watching me, anybody who knows my channel, I am not fearful as to what's going on here. Nervous? Maybe. Anytime you got to do a transition, you got to move one coins to another, and you got to send coins in and all these other things. Yeah, you always worry about that kind of stuff just because, you know, you don't want to send the wrong address or something funky happens like that. So just be very, very vigilant when you do this. Make sure you're very, very vigilant. Do not take any information from anybody other than what's being officially posted in the Animal Farm. And by officially posted, I mean officially posted by Forex or somebody in there as a team member. And we'll go from there. So that's about all I got, guys. I hope this makes sense. Thanks for tuning in for the most frequent update. As things come to be, I will let you know. All right. Have a good night.